all of your attention this morning. It's today is a great opportunity for Thomas Nelson. We are honored and privileged to have our Chancellor here, Chancellor DuBois, and Chancellor, we'd like to welcome you to the great institution of Thomas Nelson Community College, one of the greatest institutions in the country. We're really pleased to get an update in terms of Dateline 2009, and what we're going to show immediately after is just a video of our new logo that people have here, you've seen and heard about, but give you an opportunity also to ask the Chancellor some questions and also give you an update on some of the great things that we're doing here at Thomas Nelson. But more importantly, you see earlier today that there was a light mist out and it was raining. Well, see, Thomas Nelson has so much great control that as soon as the Chancellor arrived, the clouds parted and the sun is shining now. So just to let him know that he was truly on this great institution's campus. That was the intro. But let me introduce the Chancellor. As I said to you in a number of town hall meetings and public meetings, he has been very supportive of Thomas Nelson, supportive of me as the new president here, no longer new, but since arriving here, and every year that I've been here, he has been very supportive for Thomas Nelson and also myself as president. But he came to Virginia in July of 2001 after a national search, and in that position, he acts as the chief officer of the 23 community colleges, 40 campuses in the system, and it's a comprehensive system of community colleges in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He previously held the position of commissioner and CEO of New Hampshire Community College Technical College System with 7 campuses, and was director of community colleges for the State University of New York, one of the nation's largest network of community colleges. In addition, he has more than 10 years of successful teaching experience and chaired the Department of Criminal Justice at North Shore Community College in Massachusetts, where he developed numerous articulation agreements with 4-year colleges and universities and received top college awards for teaching. Considered an expert on dynamics of community college teaching, Dr. DuBois received a doctorate in higher education administration, research, and policy from the University of Massachusetts. He holds a master's degree in juvenile justice and criminology from Eastern Kentucky University and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Florida Atlantic University and an associate of science degree in police sciences. And so, not only from all the universities, he's also a graduate of a community college from the State University of New York in Farmingdale. I can go on and on and on in terms of all of his accomplishments and offers and shaking his head saying no. But I just want to emphasize to you, we've been very successful in the Commonwealth of Virginia to have such a great leader in our Chancellor. And can you please give him a warm Thomas Nelson Community College?
I have to be on, Charles, and I think you have to be off for this to work. Oh, thanks so much. It's really nice of you to give me that warm welcome. It was a beautiful morning coming down here. The ride was uneventful, which is good news when you're driving around here. It's nice to be back. I pass the college often in my travels because it's right on the highway, and I really don't stop here as often as I should. Now, some of you are probably very pleased that I don't stop here. But the place looks fabulous. I do refer to this college as my community college because I live in the service area down in Croker. My wife doesn't like when I say Croker. She says, just say Williamsburg. But it is the Croker area of Williamsburg. And you have, I guess technically an alum in my son, who transferred some dual enrollment credit, and now he's a sophomore at Virginia Tech, wanting to be an engineer. So, in fact, this is not why I'm here to tell you the story, but I'm just reminded, he tried to register at New River Community College to take an engineering course, and he couldn't do it through SIS PeopleSoft because he had 2 IDs. So it took Chancellor intervention to get him registered, and I think, Charles, you can help me out on that too. As Charles was, I'm going to get to the presentation in a moment, but let me have a little fun for a moment. As Charles was kind of going over, I guess, my pedigree, where I've been, gosh, it just seems like I'm getting older and older because my first degree was police science. I think they stopped calling that when Coolidge was president of the United States. But that degree was probably my most significant because it was a community college that gave me a chance when no one else would. And I owe that college. But the 2 most interesting experiences that I've had in my life that have prepared me to work with college presidents. And I've worked with college presidents from New York to New Hampshire and now to Virginia. And these, working with college presidents can be quite a challenge. They're high performers. They essentially, you know what they want from their chancellor? They want to be left alone. But they also want some help when they need it, and of course they want a chance to get some resources. Well, we meet once every, as a group of 23 of these high-performing, talented, some egos, and we meet as a group once every 2 months, and over 2 days, the afternoon of the first day and the morning of the second day. And the 2 best experiences I've had in my career that has helped me work, I think, effectively with community college presidents, that Charles, and it's not on my resume, but I'm going to tell you. The 2 was, one, I was a juvenile probation officer for 2 years. And the second, for 4 years, I was a Little League umpire. That's helped me work with some high-performing leaders that sometimes kind of create some friction, go out of bounds, and I can just hang right in there with them, thinking back to those early days. Okay, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to give you a halftime report. I've been doing this wherever I've been traveling. And as some of you know, I take any excuse to get out of Richmond. Unfortunately, I have to go back there this afternoon. But I've been giving what I'm calling a halftime report on Dateline 2009 because it has been 3 years. The story of Dateline 09 began in the year 2001 for me. Now, why would I say something like that when we unveiled Dateline 09 only 3 years ago in 2003? In fact, it was this month that we did that. In November of 2003, we did it. But let me take you back to 01. 01 was the year of Mark Warner. It was the year of 9/11. It was the year that I arrived. And it was the first year of about 2.5 years of one financial hurricane after another, terrible, unprecedented budget problems for this Commonwealth and for the community college system. It wasn't one wave of financial difficulties. It was wave after wave after wave after wave. And the agenda during those times, and you remember those times, the agenda was, the strategic plan in the year 2001 was, hold on, survive, let's get through this as best as we can. Those were difficult times. I do not want to repeat those times. However, I can tell you that because of those times, we learned some very important lessons. One was we learned that we must focus on what's really important. 2, we learned that in a crisis, the leaders, everybody must come together to fight a common enemy. I always kind of find it interesting, if you give students a common enemy, they seem to kind of rally together. That's how nurses get through the curriculum, right? They rally together and they help each other. Well, our leaders started to come together and started to help each other get through these financial storms. And literally, to use a kind of a Navy military metaphor, we were out there sailing in seas that we had never experienced before. Wicked, wild, angry seas. And the agenda, the long-range thinking was tomorrow, next week, next month. And we experienced some pain. But we made it through, and we learned some lessons. We learned that what we're about is not constantly telling the Commonwealth what we need, but what we can do for the Commonwealth. You know, back then the leaders would typically get up, and I'm guilty of this, and say, well, we need this, faculty, salaries, books, equipment, computers, and that would get me 15 votes. However, we learned that's not how you advocate for our needs. The best way to do it is tell Virginia what we can do by putting people back to work. Sound of freedom. I remember the first time I was helping families have affordable access to higher education, helping them then transfer on to great universities, and I'll get to that in a moment. Helping improve the quality of life through healthcare, keeping the economy moving by all the graduates that we provide. Now, then people will start to listen. So here we are at about 2002, the end of it, and the seas are kind of flattening out, where the environment's becoming a little bit more predictable. It's no longer survive and get through this. And it was at that time that I kind of brought all the leaders together, the president primarily, and said, all right, you know, we're feeling really good about what we accomplished. We kind of got through this thing. We know more, we're more clear on what we're all about and what we mean to the Commonwealth. So where do we go from here? Well, instantly, you know, this is Virginia. Virginia thinks they invented the American story, and in many cases they did. They said, well, we want to be the very, very best. I said, all right. Best meaning the best in the country. Okay, good. That's a benchmark that we can look at. What do you want to be best in? Well, enrollment, dual enrollment, and retention, and graduation, and so on. Now, the thing about setting goals for you 40 to young 50 future presidents out there, the thing about setting goals is you want to articulate few goals, not 100, because that will ultimately stress everyone out. And when you put a goal out there, you want it to be measurable, so at any given time you know where you are relative to that bullseye. And you want to put a goal out there that's going to stretch the organization in ways that has never been stretched before. Now, we knew, with respect to stretching, we had to stretch our organization so it could more effectively respond to the needs of the Commonwealth. Not to our priorities, but to the needs of the Commonwealth. If we could do that, we would generate investment to take care of our own institutional needs, such as raising salaries, hiring more faculty, buying more equipment. So in the process of 9 months, we articulated a plan, the leaders. It took 9 months to get the buy-in. This is not just the Chancellor's plan where we just announce it one day. This has every president's name on it. Charles came 6 months after we unveiled it. So if you're mad about any one particular goal there, you can't blame Charles, you can blame me. And we came up with 6 stretch goals and 1 promise, or 7 goals. 6 of them will stretch us, 1 commitment. Now, like any plan with new leaders, you kind of go through the exercise, and a lot of folks say, well, there's another thing that we put up on the shelf, and we don't have to worry about that. That did not happen. We developed a plan that you put on a business card. It was very, very short, and it was very, very compelling. It was a plan that had these 7 goals, or 6 goals in promise, that no one has said to me, Glenn, those are the wrong goals. everyone said, right on, those are the right goals. This was a plan all about accountability before accountability was even being talked about now in Congress. Now here we are, 3 years. 3 years into it. And I want to show you where we are as a sector. And I would encourage you in the future town meetings or in leadership discussions here, perhaps take a close look at where you are relative to the 6 goals and the one promise. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to give you the sector performance, add it all up. And I think it might be appropriate for you sometime down in the future to come together and say, well, where's Thomas Nelson directly with respect to each of these goals? Now, B.B. King. He cannot play guitar and sing at the same time. He cannot play the guitar and sing at the same time. In fact, if you watch him, he plays and he sings. He plays and he sings. I cannot give formal remarks and click at the same time. I'm going to easy. Now I'm going to bring you through the halftime report. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to open it up for any question on any subject, not necessarily this presentation, but on anything. While you have me here, you need to express something, please. Don't do it after I leave. Take advantage of what I'm talking. Are we ready? In no particular order. The first, what I'm showing you is what we unveiled in 03. In a very public manner. It was probably the longest speech I ever gave. Enrollment. We said we had to do a better job serving Virginia. We said we want to serve by 09 another 16,000 students, or from 03 to 09, taking on 16,000 more students. If you look at this next slide, you'll see, based upon our past 3 years, which I have to tell you, were relatively kind of flat, except for this last fall. But based upon the last 3, and projecting out, that top line is the target line, and we think we're going to exceed our goal. This year, this semester, fall, compared to last year's fall, we've seen a nice jump up in enrollment. About 4,000 students from fall to fall. That number alone, that growth from fall to fall, last fall to this fall, the number alone, 4,000, is larger than 30 of the 43 registered private public colleges in Virginia. And you've had a part to play in that. The colleges that have contributed since 03, our enrollment growth, they're up there. You can see your name. You can see your name up there. If we go to the next slide, this is an FTE driver, distance learning. If you see on the bottom, it's the gray, that's our distance learning as a portion of our total enrollment. So if you go track from left to right, you see the slope line is going up to about 20% of our total enrollment is a student in some kind of distance learning course. Now if you look at the next slide, this one I find kind of interesting. Again, at the bottom is DL only. These are students that are just in distance learning courses working on a program of study, typically a degree. Look at that slope line. All the way on the right, you have over 20,000 students who are only taking distance learning. Now you probably see them in here, maybe talking to some folks in the library, but they're primarily working on a degree or a program of study just through distance learning. That kind of suggests to me, and you need to answer this question for you, that there could be an emerging market out there, a stronger emerging market for those that need the independence, because we know this stuff is not about distance. It's about flexibility and independence. And we have relatively few, when I look around the Commonwealth, relatively few associate degree programs totally on just distance learning format. I'm going to switch the goal to workforce. Thomas Nelson is a leader in workforce. And I say that with all due respect, dead actors. This is a component of our mission that was added relatively late in our 40 years history. It was the first probably amendment to our mission. It came a little bit later. Now the old folks like myself, and I was Deborah, a male, but not I was Deborah at one time in my life, but they didn't call us workforce development professionals. They called us deans of continuing education. I did that at Genesee Community College. But in '03, we said, we have to do much more. Virginia barely really understands our workforce development role. Most companies don't use us. And when they do, they like what they find and they want to repeat their business. So we said in '03, and it was the presidents that put this one out there, and I even kind of gulped when they said it, because I thought it was way out there. They said, we have to increase that business by 80%. Or get up to, by '09, 225,000 workforce students. Now today, those could mean a middle college student, it could be an employee at the shipyard that you're working with on a 1-day or 6-month basis. Apprentice related instruction is in there. Now career coaching, we consider that workforce development. So we have some other transitional services that we're putting in that bucket called workforce development. But I tell you, when the president said 80%, my knees got shaken, because when I put a goal out there, I stick to it. And I don't want to change it next week because we change my mind. I want to stick to it. And they wouldn't back me down. They said, no, 80%. Where are we? Again, I'm looking at the past behavior, past 3 years, to try to predict what may be 3 years down the road, and not getting wildly creative in those predictions. Any report? Oh, shucks, this is such a good story. This is something to take a note. Look where we are, and you're playing really quite the leadership role here. Usually when someone comes to Virginia and they want to run something about workforce development, they end up here pretty quickly. When it looks like we're going to exceed that 80% stretch in 3 years from now, that's going to be quite an accomplishment. If I go to the next slide, these are the colleges that we've seen some of the greatest spikes up in recent years. And the reason why we're not there is because if all of our colleges were at, on average, where Thomas Nelson was at in '03, we would pop a champagne cork over there. We would have been hallelujah at '09. But here's some colleges that are coming up. They're coming up. Southside wasn't even on the radar screen in '03. They're coming up primarily through their workforce transitional programs, such as career readiness certificate, middle college, and now career coaches. But they're coming up. Now let me go to the next one. This was not a stretch goal, but this was a promise, but we considered it a goal. Tuition. We know, after survey after survey after survey, we know that the number one reason, faculty, you're gonna hate me when I say this, but I'll recover. The number one reason why students choose Thomas Nelson Community College when they don't even know it, the number one reason why is the price. That comes out at the top of the survey. Price. I taught for 10 years as a faculty member. I thought it was mean. It's not. But here's the recovery. It's not only faculty, but it's all of you through your relationships that will keep it. That will keep it. And the goal is not getting them in, my friends. The goal is getting them out with a degree or certificate. More on that in a minute. Let's go to the next slide. We are, after annually increasing tuition since '03 by 6 to 7%, and we're going to do it another 3 years too. And there's a reason for it. Having done that, we are nationally right about in the middle of the pack on the affordability measure. If we now compare ourselves to Virginia, which is really what you want to do when you're looking at markets, Because someone will say, well, Glenn, the tuition in Texas is only 1/3 that of Thomas Nelson. Like, well, show me someone who's moved to Texas to go enroll in a community college. That's the wrong comparison. But you do want to compare Thomas Nelson to the next best other opportunities on price. So how do we measure up? It's kind of fascinating. This chart shows the difference between our price and the 4-year college university public average. We know they're a little bit, so we average it out. What's significant is that when I'm up, you go to the next, the average difference in 02 is around $2,500. Now that gap has increased to about $4,000. So what's happening? The market's responding on price. On price. The market is responding on price. And my guess is you're starting to see more and more 18, 17-year-olds coming out of high school, headed toward a baccalaureate. Mom and dad said, you go to Thomas Nelson, now we have these fabulous guarantees. We can go to William and Mary or Virginia Tech. And son, Mom and Dad kind of figured out last night that you do the first half of that bachelor's degree at Thomas Nelson, we'd buy you a brand new car and still come out ahead. Because when you go away, it's not tuition and fees. Then there's another thing called a $500 athletic fee. I support football. And then there's room fees and board. And you're quickly up to $14,000, $15,000 a year. Or in Wyatt's case, $1,462 every month for 9 months. And Virginia Tech, compared to their peers, that is reasonable. But tell me how many Virginians you know that have that kind of disposable income. Even at our price, many families in Richmond have difficulty getting that disposable income, and if they had it, they're going to buy tires for their car, pay some bills, maybe start thinking about a Christmas gift. Tuition is not on the radar screen. So price is something that we can never lose sight of. It is very, very important, and the crisis that we now have in this country on higher education is the crisis of affordability. It's the crisis of affordability. Other nations are doing a better job figuring out how to get their people into college at a lower cost. And you know what they're doing? They're seeing more and more people go to college. You know what's happening in our country? In 14 years, the last 14 years, the college participation rate, when you factor out population growth, hasn't changed. It's been about 35%. That means 35% of today's 9th graders will complete 1 year of college. Do you think that's good enough? How about this one? This generation of Americans, baby born, the most educated generation in our history, without a doubt. At a time now when skill requirements at the shipyard, to manufacturing venues, to road building, to home building, at a time when those skill requirements are going up, this generation of Americans is about to be replaced by a generation less educated. Now that should scare us. Incidentally, participation rates in higher ed, remember 35% here, Ireland's about 52%, Slavic Republic, about 60%, New Zealand, probably around 70%. In Denmark, no one drops out of high school. They don't want to catch up. They want to beat us. They want to beat us. Now, this next goal, we knew in 03 that this was going to be our toughest, but our most noble challenge, because it was in 03 that we admitted to ourselves that getting them in is not the goal, it's getting them out That's the goal. With a degree, we help no one if they come here and earn a bag of credits, because that bag is worth in the marketplace no more than a high school diploma. If a William and Mary student drops out as a junior, that bag of credits worth really in the marketplace no more than an associate degree. So we know that people want to hire degrees and credentials, not bags of credits. And we did not like, when we looked at where we were compared to all the other states in the union, and wanting to be the best, we were kind of appalled and embarrassed about where we were in that measure, or on that measure, and in that national ranking. We were in 03 at the bottom, pardon me, rephrase it. We were at the top of the bottom third of the national pack, or about the 30th percentile. That was unacceptable. So the leaders said, we're going to do everything we can to get to the 90th percentile, or the top of the top third in the nation. We have the talent. We need to focus. We need to, it can't be business as usual anymore. And we must do better. The Commonwealth needs us to do better, and the nation needs us to do better. I find it fascinating that we owned up to that 3 years ago, and today, that's now a current conversation, just beginning in many, many states. In many, many states. I'd also tell my friends, John Kestin, Charles Steen, Big Nick, down at William and Mary. That's his nickname. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Gene Nichols. And we're fortunate to have those universities, but we're different. And I kind of look at them as a hospital that only lets in very, very healthy people. And they all do great. And they come out thinner and stronger. That's not our job. Our job is to give everyone a chance. So we take on risks. I was one. That's the magic of who we really are about. Because without us, they can't get those folks, me, there's no place to go. So we're going to have a casualty list. But we realized our casualty list was way too high. Way too high. About 60% of our part-time students they won't make it. They give up. We're not a 2-year college. We're, as far as you can see, they can't see. There's 6, 7 years that they make it. Most give up. 60% give up. And about 40% of our full-time students don't make it. So we said, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Now, this measure is tricky because nationally, community colleges are judged on the following. Graduation rates means how many full-time students who are first-time students graduate within 150% of time, or 3 years. Now, you would say, well, that only represents a small cohort of our students. You're right, because most of our students are part-time. They won't make it for 3 years. But every state has part-time students and full-time students, so it's a fair measure if all the states are being measured on that variable. So how are we doing? Well, don't know yet. If you look at this next slide. We don't know because this is the year where we evaluate how the 02 class is doing. So I charted 02. Now 02 was a year before we even admitted we had an issue here. It was a year before we even unveiled Dateline 09. So the jury is still out. But you can see where we were. The BCCS, you can see our peers. And then you can see on the right, the goal. We got a long way to go. Now, I'm going to go, let's go to the next slide. Even within our own universe of Virginia, and although they have their names up there, it's not a reason to be patting each other on the back. But compared to ourselves, back on this measure, graduation rates, here's where we see are a little ahead in our family, those colleges, with the average rate being a little bit less than 20%. Now, what's more important, if we go to the next slide, is I want to take a real close look at retention. And retention, by definition, is how many students, part-time or full-time, all fall default stay with us. So how many start in the fall? I don't care if they're part-time or full-time, male or female, evening or day, and they come back a year later. Now, you would think I think it logically follows that if those arrows are going up, what happens on the graduation side? Probably going to see those arrows going up too. So this next slide will show you what's going on in retention since '03. If we look at last year, on the left, this is just full-time students. That's where we are. We're ahead of our peers. That's a real good sign for me. And you can see on the right, the goal line, that 90th percentile. Next, we'll show you recent snapshot, those colleges that are kind of moving those arrows up a little bit more noticeably than other colleges within our own family on the full-time students. If we go to the next slide, you'll see the part-time comparisons, and there isn't a community college in the country that can celebrate on how well part-time students. This is really a challenge for us because it's not a 2-year deal. It's a long struggle. You know what happens? They can no longer understand the value of what you're about when their life is just getting in the way day after day after day. You have to disconnect. And often many of them do it informally. They just stop coming. They just give up. They just stop. They try it out. Gotta get a divorce. Gotta take care of this problem. Gotta get this job. I got these bills. It's really a tough struggle. It's a tough struggle. How are we doing? Well, if you look at the left, we're about really with our peers. Our goal is on the right. That one's going to be tough. Within our own university, if you look at this next slide, the part-time students, you see those having rates higher than the average. And we go to another goal here. This one's kind of exciting for us, transfer. We said to go 3. Well, by the way, don't flip back, but one last comment on the graduation retention rates. Every college there, and I think you should ask yourself this question too, what it looks like. Every college has given up on business as usual with respect to retention. They're all looking at different ways to help their students be really successful toward the goal, whether it's learning communities or advisement or child care. Every college is struggling for ways. I've seen more SACs, quality improvement, QEPs, quality enhancement plans, on this issue alone, retention and graduation. You know, I think out of 1,300 community colleges, there are probably 400 out there that don't even want to even go near this topic. And yet here we are, we put it right out there, we're going to take it on. I think you ought to pat yourself on the back and take it on. Next goal, transfer. We said in '03, we want to triple the number of students, and here's the mistake. We want to triple the number of students that graduate and successfully transfer. And 2 months after we put that goal out there, I knew we made a mistake. The mistake we made is we calibrated the goal on a base that needed to be tripled, graduate. We got to triple the number of graduates who successfully transfer. And I remember going to the presidents, I said, you know, boy, I think we just, the way we stated it, calibrated it, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And I thought the presidents would say, yeah, let's change it really fast. And they said, and it was all of them, they said, no, don't change it. Keep it there. Keep it there. And I wasn't willing to modify it. They said, don't do it. Keep it. It's a good goal. That's what we need to do. That's what Virginia needs us to do. If we don't get there by '09, it doesn't mean it's an illegitimate goal. Keep it out there. So guess what? If you look at the next slide, we're not going to triple it by '09, but we're going to come real close to doubling it. Real close to doubling it. Now, what's fascinating is in '03, we knew we had an adequate transfer environment. We knew we had a pretty good handle on price compared to theirs. Now we know our price competitive edges, that gap is growing. And now, because of things that we couldn't see in '03, we really have an emerging wonderful environment compared to all the other states with respect to trying to transfer to a university, because they're guaranteed. They're guaranteed. In '03, we had one uniform transfer guaranteed admissions agreement. One. And I think it was something like, if you major in I don't know, and you graduate with a 2.0, you come here and major in I don't know. We had one. We had one. Now we have 16. You know, see an engineering program here? You're engineers. 3.0. No questions asked. Must graduate. Virginia Tech. That's one of the best engineering schools, certainly in the top 10 in the country. Any of you graduates. 3.4. Must graduate. No questions asked. University of Virginia. 2.5. One. I haven't got one yet for seeing you. We haven't been warm and fuzzy. I'm mindful of that when I see it. I'm working on it. We had married a friend down the road, 3.6, guaranteed. No questions asked. This was not something the legislature did. This was something the university presidents, because they wanted something. They wanted more flexibility and management control, and they were willing to make commitments that respond to critical state needs, and they hooked up with us. And let me tell you another interesting thing that's going on in competitive universities, public universities in this country. They're really starting to look like finishing schools for wealthy, white America. If you really look at it, I'll tell you a story, it's a true story. John Castine, I have nothing but admiration for John, and he's a friend, president of the University of Virginia. He found out not long ago that his university, public university, Jefferson's, who stood for, what did Jefferson say? Everybody should be educated. That's how you improve democracy. Compared to all the other public universities in the country, he was the most elite in terms of income strata, hardly any diversity in the country. And John said when he found that out, that's not going to be my list. So the smart ones, they're hooking up with us really for two reasons. One, to demonstrate that public commitment to community college graduates. And two, it's a way, a long-term strategy to diversify their student base. It's a good strategy. It's a good strategy. So we in Virginia have something going for us in this transfer world that no other state has. It's university presidents representing some of the finest universities in the world wanting our students and giving them guaranteed deals and not putting the cap on how many can come. Now, a commercial. This short session coming up in the legislature, we will have one policy item that will be our top of the wedding cake conversation request. Everyone's mobilized on it, and it is to get a transfer scholarship grant through the legislature, signed by the governor, so that a Virginian, any Virginian, can come to Thomas Nelson or any of the 23 community colleges, graduate. They must graduate or no deal. If they graduate with a 3.0 or better, 3.0 or better, graduate 3.0 or better, and if they're within 150% of the family median income in their locality, and that number will change when you go around Virginia, it's about, on average, about 80,000. Graduate 3.0, below 80,000 family income, bingo, you earn a scholarship, so that when you transfer, you take advantage of all these wonderful transfer guarantees. When you transfer, you earn a scholarship that equates to holding your tuition at the community college rate for the years 3 and 4. We're getting a lot of attention on this, friends. Right now, Vince Callahan, the chief budget writer in the House of Delegates, is going to introduce that bill as I outlined it. Chief budget writer in the House. These are my friends that I had a little difficulty with last year. Walter Stosh in the Senate, Majority Leader, introducing the same identical bill, and each of them co-sponsoring each other's bill, and doing it in a way that hopefully all delegates and senators can sign on. There's an interesting phenomenon that's going to happen next November. They're all running, senators and delegates. Another nice little planet right there. And Virginia 21, a dynamic and growing, emerging grassroots student advocacy group that is really trying to organize community college, because that's where they're going to see the boots on the ground with our 350,000 stakeholders. And they finally woke up and they said, wow, we got some friends there that we need to talk to. And I hope when they come around here, you put them in touch with your student leaders. They're going to make this issue, Community College Transfer Scholarship Grant, their top legislative request. And the only other planet that I haven't yet lined up yet, and I'm working it, is the governor to introduce this at his budget amendment. And I'm telling his folks, he can be the first in the nation to tackle in a very meaningful and noticeable way. Governors like to be noticed. Tackle this issue of affordability. Because if you do this, Governor, and if they come, and they will, and they graduate with 3.0, and they're within 150%, you're looking at a family that can get to a bachelor's degree with a full tuition bill, add it all up, and fees. I can't count the blooming board and the athletic fees, but just the tuition and mandatory fees, 4 years, $12,000. I'm going to need your help. Because if you believe in this, then you're going to be, it'll have build numbers, and once it has build numbers, it becomes real. I'm going to need your help talking to your delegate and your senator, but then you have to go get 15 other neighbors to do the same thing. Sorry for the long speech on that commercial, but that's going to be, we hope that will create an environment in Virginia where more people will pursue higher education. Remember that 34%? That's not going to cut for us. We need to be more like 75%. We're at a time right now where all young people must go to college because they're not going to live an independent life. K-12, no longer enough. GED, forget it. You're going to be living in the economic margins. Not enough. Today, 10, 15, 20 years ago, enough. Not enough today. All young people must go to college. And we know when young people go to college, they complete college, and they have kids, guess what their kids do? They go to college. When young people don't complete high school, and they marry each other, guess what their kids do? They don't complete high school. They don't complete high school. We're not All right, we don't think we're going to triple it because we calibrated it wrong, but we do believe we're going to double it by 09, and guess what? We're going to bury that top line, not by 09, maybe by 11, maybe by 12, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. If we look within our own family, the last 5 years, colleges up there that have the highest transfer rates compared to the others. Now, if we go another goal, I just have a couple more here. I see some people starting to switch. And some folks have class, you just have enough of me. If you want to leave, I won't be offended. But just have a little bit more, and I'm going to stop and open it up for the conversation we'll have. Dual enrollment, we said no 3. You know, this is really fabulous to give these young people this college experience and get inspired to go on. We said we want to triple it. We want to triple it. What we didn't know in 03 was the teacher shortage was going to be soon to be a crisis level. And you know what a lot of superintendents are doing is to respond to that crisis. They're hiring in new teachers, bachelor's only. And they are, by definition, ineligible to qualify as an adjunct if they're teaching a academic or a gen ed or a transfer course, a university course. Cash them in some other place. However, we did say perhaps the occupational technical area would be a place to move out. Move out because we believe that those students will finish with us. They'll make the jump from high school and finish with us, and we're starting to see that. But where are we? If we go to the next slide, given everything I said, and it's not over, we still have a chance to make the goal of tripling the number of dual enrollment students, actually reaching about 42% of all young people in these high schools if we hit the goal of 09. We still have some time. So I'm asking the big colleges, you're one, and you have responded where others have not. I'm asking the big VATs to get to where all the others are in dual enrollment, or their average. And if all the big VATs were at the system average in dual enrollment, we will hit. We will exceed our goal in 09. And I am very, very pleased, I think just since Charles' tenure here, you've really moved out on dual enrollment in a big way. You're not at the system average. But compared to some of the other big ones, we've done good work. Let me show you where we are in this next chart. That's just the percentage of enrollment. I mean, look how important this stakeholder has become to us. The red line's FTEs, but look at the head counts. In 03, about 6% of our students were dual enrollment students, and now they're over 10. If we go to this next slide, you'll see, look at the percentage of the base of enrollment is made up of dual enrollment of those colleges. I mean, somehow dual enrollment was ended. These colleges were getting money, particularly Rappahannock and Southside. The average, around 10%. And I think you've gone from like 1 to over 5. I might be a little bit off by that, but that's a great stretch for you. That's a great stretch. And I'm using you when I talk to Nova. Who's from Nova? I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm actually, Bob knows this. I said, come on, you gotta get to the system average. Shoot for that system average, and we can pop the champagne on this goal. And give, not even reach 45% of the young people with a taste of a college course that you can do. Because you get a lot of young people out there. And you have career coaches. You have career coaches in the room? I know you have career coaches. Paradigm is coming, so they figured they'd definitely go out to high school. You have young people, friends, that the word college is not in their vocabulary. No one in their family mentions it. Their friends don't mention it. The teachers do. But the teachers say, why don't you go down to Thomas Nelson Community College? They're really nice people down there. You know what they do? You shake your head yesterday with a teacher, and they never draw it down. It's just not in their blood. It's not in their blood. The magic about the career coach model is now we have a community college office right in the high school. So this same kid who's going, let's go across the hall and meet Charles Taylor. He works at the community college. And you can't get away. Bingo, you're sitting down, talking to the community college professional who's looking in our eye and saying, we think you got what it takes. We think you can do it. When I was 16, that word college never existed in my vocabulary. No one in my family history, 13 generations, had ever attended community college. And the guy that looked me in the eye, was 16, was this officer from the Air Force, all sparkly. And he looked at me and he said, we think you would be excellent in the Air Force. Training dogs, literally. And I was so inspired. I ran home. I said, I got to drop out of high school because I would be excellent in the Air Force. They want me. Well, imagine the same kids now talking to a college professional. We want you. We think you can do it. We have high schools that over the last 10 years, we can plot that X% of their graduates end up at this community college, and the line is flat. It's very predictable. 1 year career coach in this high school. Doubled. And then the second year, doubled. The same thing happens. More people because they're inspired, because they meet you. Come here. Now I really start to see some twitched. NASCO. We said in '03, we have to look, we got to take a cue from the universities and four-year colleges. They figured out 40 years ago, they had to help themselves and raise some money. We said, we need to do it too. And we, in '03, said collectively, at the time, we're sitting on about $75 million in our 23 foundations. We need to double it. We need to double it by '03. And if you look at this next chart, we're going to meet and probably exceed that goal at doubles our 75 to over 150. Now, I think, is there one more slide? This slide's really not that fair because many colleges, other than those three, are really doing some significant work in this area of private fundraising. And I'm not going to go through the list, but I will tell you something that just hit the press yesterday. One of our small colleges that's not talked about a lot, they have been quietly working with the foundation. And it was just announced yesterday, this foundation was created from the sale of a hospital. They have a gazillion dollars, well over 100, I believe. And because of the good work of this community college, I won't tell you its name. Its initials are WCC. Because of their good work, particularly Ed Barnes for a year there, he's one of our legends. We brought him back as an intern for a year. Because of their good work, it was just announced yesterday that this foundation will cover all tuition and all fees for any high school graduate in 2 counties should they enroll in Whitfield Community. That's a big one. And I'm not including that on that chart, that slope line. I'm not even including it. So if I add it all up, and I'm going to stop here and open it up, I think we put together a plan that kind of gave us some serious focus. It's now a plan that we're starting to see some results. It's a plan that people want to invest in, like legislators. They like, because we're not down here whining about what we need. This is what we can do. Help us do it. So I hope you would agree. Maybe from time to time you can't see it. In this business, it's tough to see results on a daily or weekly. Sometimes you got to wait a year to see it. In this case, it was 3 years for me to really kind of take a pause and take a look at where we are. And we're really doing great work. And I'm not the one doing it. It's you. So it's all you. So thank you very, very much. I'll stop here and I'll open it up if you have any time. The faculty president, he knows that they were the first ones to jump up. Right?
What do you see as the role of the Chancellor's Faculty Advisory Committee and Faculty Senate in advancing this goal?
Well, good question. The CFAC is the Chancellor's Faculty Advisory Council. Who was the member?
Mike Quanti.
Mike, right. He knew I was coming too. I don't see him here.
He had flash.
Okay, good. I think it's an extra star. I meet with them twice a year. I take it very, very seriously. With them, I ask a couple things. We're not going to have these sessions to talk about anything institutional specific. We need to talk about systemic kinds of concerns and issues, and we do that. And they've been very, very helpful. I've given this presentation. They've been very, very helpful at that. They haven't really pushed back on me too hard. I think they've been very, very supportive. They do come up with some interesting questions that generate some conversations and some ideas. I'll give you one example. They hit me with a general question: would you reconsider, Mr. Chancellor, reallocating office hours, the 10 mandatory office hours, into maybe some virtual kinds of ways that we can interact with students? And that was a great conversation because I remember when I was a faculty member, we had to do 5. And those students came to see me those 5, typically. So what faculty members do? They do their work. In fact, they're so used to doing their work, the students come around, they can't get their work done. Which is kind of a ridiculous thing to say. But they prep up when they do this. That's basically what they're doing. So I said to them, I said, you know, I'm kind of fascinated, not necessarily by, instead of office, maybe virtual, but what do you think about, and this is just a what if, and I think it's going to be discussed. What do you think about, instead of 10 in the office, how about some of those hours with clubs, tutoring centers? How about the cafeteria? If student-faculty interaction is so important, it is, and if we're having 10 hours where they're not interacting, why don't we change the venue? Maybe if the other stuff is even more important, let's weight it higher than an hour. Those are the kinds of conversations we have. Now, on a faculty senate, I think where you can be most helpful is from time to time, coming together, the leaders, admin, faculty, everything, and say, well, how are we doing with this stuff? How are we doing? Where are we cutting it, and where do we need to maybe stop doing business as usual? I think that's a very legitimate role for the entire college community, because if you all, not just the president, but if you agree that, we're going to do this and it's important, I guarantee you, it'll work. If you believe it, it'll work. So I think that's a legitimate role. How are we doing on these goals? How are we doing on these goals? And you will see, I think, the conversation about reusing these 10 hours maybe in a little different way. I think you're going to start to see that emerge. Other question. How much time do I have, Charles? Am I almost out? Because I'll stay as long as you need. Okay? Yeah. Now, when I leave, it'll be 35. I should have asked them. I should have said this. Could have done that. Yeah.
Mentioned the achievement gap in Virginia of those students who are failing in high school.
Right.
Obviously, that's a challenge for colleges, 2-year and 4-year in Virginia, because those students are not going to be eligible to enter 4-credit programs. Can you give us a preview of any ideas or things that where you see the community college system in Virginia playing a role in helping to decrease that high school achievement gap?
Well, and I think we need to play a healthy role, because for too long, higher ed folks, we've been guilty. We turn around and blame the high school for this poor product that we're sending. Well, you know what they do? They turn around and blame the parents. And it's a blame game. It's a blame game, and I think we have to stop that and look for ways. How can we help? How can we help? Because if we're all in it kind of together, it's all about our economy and our quality of life. How can we help? My answer to your question is I think we need to do more of what we're doing. More dual enrollment. I think there should be a community college office in every high school staffed with our professional full-time. What do we have now? At 380 some odd high schools, we have 50 community college offices, or offices, our office at 50 high schools, with a half-time person. Typically. I would love to see that expand. I think there are young people out there that want to get back in, and there's no place for them to go to get back in. They're motivated. They're called highly motivated young 18 to 24-year-old high school dropouts. There are 150,000 of them in Virginia. We need middle college programs everywhere. One little thing on middle college programs, these are 18 to 24-year-olds that come to the center of the community college not to get a GED. That's no longer the goal. It has to be college degree. We tell them, if you're going to come here, GED is not the goal, kid. You're going to pick that up. It's community college degree. How are they doing? We have 5 of these programs. How are they doing? Their persistence toward goal. These are dropouts, young dropouts. You get the stereotype? Their persistence toward goal, or their fall to fall, that retention thing, is higher than just about every community college student you can name. Now that is fascinating. Over 70% of them between the GED and 70% of them are enrolled in post-secondary education or have completed it. And we're saving $500 a year, and there are 150,000 up on the not just between high school and university, but we're the bridge between $7 an hour and $17 and $27 an hour. And we are now the bridge between dependence and independence. And we have a mission that no one else has, and it's to respond to unmet needs. That's what makes this business fun. William and Mary, and we love William and Mary, they've been doing the same thing for 400 years. Our mission makes us hunt for where we can be useful. That's the exciting part of what we do, and our menu changes, reflecting on how responsive we are. And I believe, I'm 52. You know, I just had birthday 33. I believe 15 years from now, this institution called community college will not even have reached its plateau. 15 years. I'm not even sure it'll reach it in 25. So buckle up. It's going to be a great ride for as long as you're here, because we're going like this. So I'll stop there. Thanks very, very much.
Thank you, Chancellor, for giving us an overview of the Dateline 2009. And as you were mentioning, I was taking some notes and really wanted to highlight a couple of those. This was announced yesterday. We had a President's Cabinet meeting yesterday. We had an extended Cabinet meeting. And one of the big issues that I wanted to emphasize in terms of our enrollment at part of the Dateline 2009, and I'm doing it so they can set up 12 videos, but they're probably already ready, so they don't have to go on. But in terms of the enrollment, as everyone's been talking about, we've been putting a lot of emphasis on enrollment, but at the same time, a lot of other areas. But if you look at enrollment here at Thomas Nelson for this fall semester, let me give you some great numbers, and numbers that we didn't have until yesterday. The Chancellor talked about an FTE enrollment for this fall around 4% for system average. Well, Thomas Nelson, for the first time in the history, for our FTE count, we're over 5,000 FTEs for the first time. More importantly, that 5,000 last year for the fall, we're at 4,612. So even though the system's average is about 4%, we are 8.5% increase, which is double. But that's not the best news yet. The best news, I think, in terms of enrollment increases is the head count. Last year we had 8,500 students in terms of head count that we were serving. This year we have a 12% increase. Matter of fact, over a 12% increase. We're over for the first time in our 40-year history of Thomas Nelson for the fall semester, 9,600 plus students for the fall semester. And I say that because we've been emphasizing enrollment, but as all of you are aware, we've been emphasizing retention. We started a new advising task force. We've also emphasized trying to develop and being flexible. And so I just say this for the Chancellor's sake, but at the same time saying it for your sake, because everyone has been involved in making this happen. Not one, and you've heard me say this before, when you look at the grounds, when you look at the facilities that we have here, keeping all the things up to speed and things happening and running. You have the business office taking in the money. Oh, I want to pause here. The key component is that all of these students are paid students. So we look at financial aid, giving out the highest number of award letters this time. Public relations was going to show you the piece. Looking at the faculty in terms of developing the programs, the deans in terms of putting together flexible schedules, all the departments, the admissions, workforce development, institutional advancement, technology, all the different components, basically the entire institution. So with that, please give yourselves a round of applause. I'm going to run out of time, so I'm not going to give you all the other great news, but I'll give it to you when we have our open all-college meeting in January. But the numbers in terms of distance learning has significantly increased as well. In the dual enrollment, one of the numbers 2.5 years ago, we had about 300 students head count. We're way over 1,400 just in a matter of a 2-year period. So, but I won't give you all the other great news. But Dr. DuBois, thank you for being here. One of the things that we want to emphasize to you is that Thomas Nelson, we're trying to take the leadership role. We don't want to be in the middle of the pack. We want to be at the leadership role of it. And you have the individuals here making it happen, from the administration, from the faculty, from the staff, from all the levels, and students involved in it as well. So we want to, in closing, just show you a video that we put together in terms of our new marketing piece, really to get emphasis of what we're doing here at Thomas Nelson. So with that,
let me tell you about the exciting things happening here at Thomas Nelson Community College. We have a number of opportunities for you, whether you're planning to transfer and going directly into the job market. We not only have quality instruction, but we have dedicated staff. More importantly, not only are you going to learn in the classroom, but you're going to learn outside of the classroom as well. We have activities, we have programs, we have a number of cultural events as well. And all of these things help for the development of the entire student, the growing of the entire personality, and all the things you need to compete nationally as well as internationally. Thomas Nelson is that exciting place, and we encourage you to look at all of our opportunities here.
One of the advantages of coming to Thomas Nelson is that a student can complete the first 2 years of a 4-year degree here at Thomas Nelson in a very supportive learning environment with quality faculty members, small class sizes, and the notion that you are somebody when you're here at Thomas Nelson.
Thomas Nelson is about 30 minutes away from where I live, so I wanted to go to college, and I knew that I wanted to go to a 4-year university, so I came here, and I've been here for 2 years, and I know I'm going to go for another 2 until I get my associate's degree.
I decided to come here because I didn't feel I was ready to go to a 4-year university yet. I didn't feel like I was ready for the big college life yet, so, and I wanted to get my grades ready before I go out to college like that.
I didn't have the resources to travel far. I live off campus now, obviously, so I wanted to go somewhere that was local, and Thomas Nelson was my first choice. And I knew it was an accredited college, and it would be recognized if I decided to go to a 4-year college.
Our students, when they leave Thomas Nelson, when they transfer to a 4-year institution, for instance, they have a higher success rate than students who are going straight from high school straight into the 4-year university. They come out with a higher grade point average after their first junior year and going into their senior year at a 4-year institution.
I've been pursuing higher education for 30 years, but this is the first time in my life that I was actually able to have the time to actually do it. And so now, after 30 years, I've actually achieved that first part of my journey, is to get higher education on college.
Thomas Nelson gave me an opportunity to see what I could be and what my true potential were. And it just gave me that beginning that I needed just to kickstart me into an entirely new life.
When I left Thomas Nelson, I felt I had a firm foundation to succeed in anything that I was going to attempt. And when I went on to a 4-year university, I thought I had all those elements for success.
We have a truly dedicated professional faculty, and our commitment and professionalism is recognized by our students.
I think a good teacher is when somebody makes you feel comfortable, and also forcing a learning environment.
Well, I like a lot of the teachers here. They're very experienced in what they do. They work with their schedule a lot. It's very convenient for whether or not, you have school or, if you have kids or if you're working?
What I really understood here was the encouragement that I received from the teachers was more than just encouragement. They saw something that I had that they thought that I should work with, and they had totally advanced me from where I used to be to where I am now.
The faculty and staff at Thomas Nelson really believed in me before I believed in myself.
The support that I received, and I know many other students received from the faculty at Thomas Nelson, was invaluable.
I love the interaction with my students. I love helping people find their God-given talents and to be able to use those skills and to be productive in society. We all share in one common goal, and that is meeting the needs of our students.
I just think the Thomas Nelson is a good opportunity for people who want to either go to another community college or prepare for the work field.
I believe that in many cases, students who come up to the community college, this is a great opportunity for them to really look into the future, discover themselves, and really decide what it is that they would like to do.
Thomas Nelson has everything that any student, particularly a younger student, would envision of college. And I think that Thomas Nelson takes the word community in their name very seriously. And that the faculty, the staff, the resources there are geared to every student's success.
Regardless of your goals, we'll work with you and we'll walk with you to make sure that you can achieve those goals.
Thomas Nelson offers a variety of opportunities, and it depends on what your goals are. If we don't have it at Thomas Nelson, we probably don't need it.
We have a transfer center where students can look at other colleges that are looking to go to a four-year college and decide what program they want to go into and which courses here they should take the best fit into that program.
The articulation agreements allow students to begin their four-year degrees here at Thomas Nelson with a guaranteed transfer option to the four-year institution included in the agreement.
I like that Thomas Nelson has articulation agreement. Basically, the college advisor from the four-year university is telling you what classes you need to take, what credits.
They are enrolled in courses that in fact will transfer, and not only transfer to the institution, but will be applicable to a degree program. We have dual enrollment for high school students, and that allows students in high school to accumulate college credits prior to graduation from high school. And it also allows them an affordable way to accumulate college credits.
One of our strategic initiatives here at Thomas Nelson Community College is to service our entire region. And in servicing our entire region, we're building a brand new college campus in the historic Triangle area. And we're committed to quality instruction, quality services, not only for that campus, but also continued services here at our Hampton campus.
Thomas Nelson Community College really gives you an opportunity to explore your possibilities, to see what it is that you really would like to do.
At Thomas Nelson, we encourage you to look at all the opportunities here because we truly believe you will have an experience of a lifetime.
At Thomas Nelson Community College, you can explore, excel, and succeed.
I really love this school. I will never forget this experience. This has been one of the better experiences and definitely a defining moment in my life.
If you would like to become involved in this synergy and this forward movement, Thomas Nelson is the place to be.
Just in closing, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your business together for the campus. Thank you for taking the time out of your real busy schedule as well for being here and giving us this update. Can we please give them another round of applause? No other questions? Have a great day. Thank you.
You're trying to tell me something, Norm?
I forgot that Swiss Tony's out of town. Oh, yeah. So I get to see
That's all I can say. If I stuff him, I would have told you that I wasn't. What is a detail?
I know.
You know, military term, you know. I wasn't on this. Just want to let you know.
Most comfortable sweaters to wear. Year round.
We should have seen you.
It worked out awesome. She is. Yeah, and they needed that. They had lost something. Yeah. And so well, I'm not real rested, but I just want to get back to work. I know. She doesn't come back. What do you mean? He's out there. And she's down in the park. So then, no, she's pretty to get over there. And it just, but the thing, when I was over there, the more I talked to her, what I just said, kept her mind. This thing, I couldn't quite figure out, and the guy where she was very loud, massive, and she said, my daddy didn't have. So that was the issue. She had been here. And she had not seen. So take like tip. During the course of college term, she said, and although my brain is, so I said, my first right, she was called, and we got it. But they were real good about it. They were hungry over there. They couldn't. I know they couldn't come. They couldn't come. So to get not that many because Yeah, I didn't, she different range of emotions. Yeah, so, they can communicate. Yeah, and that's well. Oh, the police officer? Yeah. Oh, okay. He came from H.U.
He don't have it. Probably don't need it. You know, I'm like, man, you know, that's right. That's right. You don't need it.
How you doing?
All right, everybody. See you, Christine. Hey, Roy, I didn't answer your call because I've been on leave, but I
No, I know.
You know, okay.
I heard. That's fine.
And I heard
I just want to make sure you got that's right. You got everything you
We on point.
We good to go. Okay, we took you up. That's the quick and easy way to do it.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna do it.
Sure.
Okay.